NBA DFS conversation, 90 minutes, taking y'all straight up the lock. Only 90 minutes? Why only 90 minutes? Well, it's a Thursday. We have a short slate, just a 4-gamer, 2 rematches, I believe, of games that just went down recently. Joined today by the plagiarizer himself, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. If you read today's NBA expert survey, you know, TJ, there's something to be said for a lack of originality. I thought you had some original thoughts. I'm not going to be voting for you anymore in the Marvel Madness. How about that? I voted for you in the first round in your little competition. I saw you got Hulk. Congratulations. What's up, TJ?
I got by far the best team. I'm not too worried about an extra vote or two. We're going to be taking this team to the ship, but I didn't plagiarize anything. I just made fun of you. I didn't copy what you said. I made fun of what you said. So that is very different than plagiarism. You got to be careful throwing words around like that. Allegedly. Now you can't sue me.
There you go. I just want to add that. Yeah, and you know it's fine. What are you going to sue me for? What kind of slander? You've said worse things about me for sure. I imagine. We'll check the tapes. Hey, you know, it's a 4-gamer. But the both of us, as well as other people, we wrote in the expert survey. Maybe we'll kind of run that down, kind of answer the expert survey questions later on as we hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. Because, again, 4-gamer, plenty of time to knock out the slate. We're here for 45 minutes till we hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. That is, I believe it's SquirrelPatrol. And Will, y'all get the chief. Yeah. So, and, of course, Roth. Obviously, Roth will be holding it down. The body parts that we're monitoring, not a ton, right? 3-gamer, well, it's a 4-gamer, but the first 3 are pretty early. 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then we have a game that's basically all by itself, a la carte. In the Zone Island, I assume it's the back half of a TNT doubleheader. Maybe it's not because of the tournament. It's probably NBA TV. Don't know. Doesn't really matter. But that's, I guess, the national TV game. OKC and the Clippers. Yeah, they just played recently, as well as the Cleveland and Brooklyn game. 2 of the best defensive teams in the last 10 games. You read that in expert survey. That was a little nugget that dropped there. The 2 best defensive teams last 10 games, Cleveland and Brooklyn, that kind of speaks to the 219 total. What a weird slate here we have, right? Because there's nobody on DK is over 10K. A couple people on Fanduel are, but there's like no incredible spends, right? Like Jokic or Embiid, you know, Luka played last night, Giannis, none of these guys. There's no incredible like matchup, you know, the highest total on the board, 232, which is kind of high, but nothing like in the high 230s or, you know, 240s or two fast teams flying. It's just a weird slate. Paul George, of course, is out for the Clippers, out basically for the regular season for the Clippers. And then what we're waiting for, basically the only thing we're waiting for right now. Oh, and shout out to your puppies on National Puppy Day, or is it National Dog Day or National Pup? Wait, how old should it to be to get acknowledged? Is it National Puppy Day? Oh, so there's dogs not getting acknowledged?
You can a dog is always a puppy, Dean. You never transition out of that. You can always go back into puppy mode.
That's not true. That's just factually incorrect.
No, that is factually very correct.
You have a 15-year-old puppy.
If a dog is looking at you and like sits down, gives you a good shake, and then like rolls over onto his back and like is sitting on being a little upside down boy, that's a puppy, no matter what the age is, Dean.
I don't think. Okay, we got to have another poll in the chat. Is the dog always a puppy? Let's put up the poll in the chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Do all the things. Baseball season starts next Thursday, a week from today. We will be tilting our faces off.
Hit the like button. You hate puppies.
No, nobody hates. I mean, like, yeah.
There's probably like 2% of the population. You hate puppies if you don't hit the like button.
No, that's not. Don't threaten the people like that. That's not the standard.
I didn't. It's factually correct. It's a direct correlation. If you hit the like button, you like puppies. If you don't hit the like button, you clearly don't like puppies.
Let me ask you this: is a cat always a kitten?
No.
Well, your own logic. Explain to me why a dog is always a puppy, but a cat is not always a kitten. I want Devin to chime in if he's lurking. He's a cat guy.
Well, a dog can always be a puppy. It doesn't mean it necessarily is. Sometimes a dog wants to be an adult. You know what I mean? But if a dog wants to be a puppy, it can stay a puppy.
Here's the thing. Like, a dog can do puppy-like things, but they're still not a puppy, right? Like, they can act as if. There could be like some nostalgia. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when Scruffy used to do that 9 years ago all the time. But you're just not a puppy. That's the rules. That's just how it works, man. That's called getting old. But I don't know. This is an important thing to break down in a 4-gamer. The poll is currently, is it not in my favor? Of course. Do you know, TJ? Yes. According as of right now, yes is winning, which is outrageous. Okay. 4-game slate, TJ. Lot to dig into as far as New York. A lot of potential options. I was thinking of maybe like kind of forgetting that game and kind of backloading it, because maybe we'll just talk a whole bunch about it and like get news and then throw it out. We're waiting on Mitrov. Mitrov is questionable and Jalen Brunson is questionable. They're both questionable, and the idea of them being in or them being out would completely change the slate and change New York, obviously. What do you think? Should we wait on that game and kind of like put it third and hopefully we get news at some point, or should we just knock it out and play all the way?
Great minds think alike, because since that's the first game of the slate, and we probably will get the news at some point during this show. And if not, who cares? Then we're going to have to end up analyzing it the same way as we otherwise would have anyways. That's what I was thinking, is save it for last if we don't get the news. And if we do get the news, just start talking about it whenever we do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like either way, worst case scenario, we're going to waste our time like a half hour from now or 20 minutes from now, as opposed to wasting some time now, dissecting all the potential routes, some clear and obvious stuff that we'll dig into. And then the center stuff's a little bit murkier. But we'll see. We'll stay tuned. Back half of back-to-back for New York, and they are also traveling there to Orlando. We're going to skip that game and talk about Cleveland and Brooklyn. How about this? We got time. Give me your overall assessment of the screenshot. What do we like about this slate? What do we not like about this slate? Is it weird that like there's nobody to spend up on?
It is weird. I mean, I really, really like the last game of the slate, the Clippers and OKC. I am planning on getting pretty heavily overweight on the first game of the slate as well, regardless of how these injuries play out. But like, it is weird. Like, it's very weird. It's tough to kind of get too excited about anything, because like Cleveland, Brooklyn, it's probably going to be a pretty slow defensive game. Charlotte and the Pelicans, it could be a very high scoring game, but it also could end up being a blowout. So it's going to be a pretty heavy game stack day for me today. And the last game of the night is going to be the one I'm heaviest on.
Charlotte is I believe the worst offensive team last 10 or 15 games by a good bit. Their offense has kind of sputtered. Their defense has been pretty good, though, for what it's worth. Let me just pull this up. I know I was digging into it early this morning. Let's see. Defensive rating, Charlotte third in the last 15 games. It's kind of thing. I think it's even better in the last 10. No, eighth. But yeah,
Dean, I want you to look him. Pull up the screen. I want you to look at him right in the eyes. And I want you to tell him that he's not a puppy.
Who's a good dog? Who's a good dog?
He's a baby, Dean. He's a baby. He's a puppy.
Who's not a puppy? Who's not a puppy? How old is this guy?
He's 6.
And what is it? Is this a sorcerer? What's his name?
Sorcerer?
I don't know. I figured there's got to be a character named Sorcerer somewhere in the Marvel universe.
Nope, this is Obi-Wan. He's from Star Wars, Dean.
Well, I know that. Now you're just being condescending. Tell me, of course I know he's in Star Wars. Obi-Wan. I mean, I like that. That's
you never know, Dean. You thought his name was Sorcerer.
Who's not a dog? Wait, who's not a puppy?
Yeah, he's not a dog. Exactly, he's a puppy. He's a good boy.
I would wish Obi-Wan a happy National Puppy Day, but is there a puppy around that we can wish happy National Puppy Day to? Is there one?
Yeah, this guy right here.
I don't know about that. Dogs know to like be quiet, by the way, when the show's on. Your puppies don't know. They're not trained. So unless that's on you. Who's this guy?
This is Sonic. He's also a puppy. He's 2.
That's kind of sort of maybe it's in the range. That actually is almost legitimate. I think. He's the big brother of the family, though. Obi-Wan
is the baby. And Sonic is 4 years younger, but he's the adult of the family.
The 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, fair enough. And there's some cats lurking too?
Oh, yeah. Shadow's around somewhere, but we never really know where he is.
I was trying to think of Shadow, by the way, when I said Sorcerer. I couldn't get it. I couldn't quite get there. And I'm like, all right, we can't just like sit here and not say anything. Let's go with Sorcerer. And I was way off. The other part of the slate, by the way, is like Kawhi. Kawhi without Paul George, he's going to thrive. His minutes of late have been outrageous, between 36 and 40. No overtime games, 36 and 40 minutes in his last 6 games. Remember once upon a time there was a minutes limit on Kawhi. He was not playing back-to-backs and yada, yada. That's gone. it's on him to position the Clippers as best possible in the playoffs. And that's the other part of it, is that the Clippers and OKC are both jockeying in the Western Conference, and we know how tight that is as far as the standings in the Western Conference. It's outrageous. 6-11. It's like a game or a game and a half. So every game counts. And this obviously, it's important to beat the people you're battling with as well. Kawhi getting over 50% ownership. It's a 4-gamer, obviously, and raw points for this slate. We have him, projected to score over 3, maybe 4 more than everybody else. SGA right behind him on OKC, the other side of that game. What is the official stand as of right now? Obviously, things can change. Like, New York's going to definitely speak to the slate, or certainly can rattle up if they roll some guys out. But yeah, what's our official stance as far as Kawhi? 41% as far as the ownership. I'm sorry, 27% on Fanduel because he's 10K. What? That's a little surprising. Oh, you know what? I was reading his points. Poor job by me. I thought that was too high. All right, are we still doing this live? Or are we getting commercial? We're doing this live. Okay. Kawhi is at 23% right now on DK, which seems a little low. I think that seems a little bit low when he's the clear, obvious best play. Of course, salary matters, but raw points matter too. And on FanDuel, as far as Kawhi, we're getting 27%. What's your official stance with Kawhi and just everybody else in general as far as big spends? Because again, as things stands right now, you can get Randall at a much lower percentage.
Yeah, it seems crazy and stupid to me that he's only 22% on DraftKings. I'm going to have at least 50%.
Yeah, I'm going to run some optimals too. I'm curious why he's not. So I was running him earlier. We did get an update. Let's see, as of 5 o'clock and change. So it's about as update as we're going to get. And for what it's worth, the ownership stuff is from 2:30, and that will get refined and refreshed shortly as well. First game we're going to talk about is Cleveland and Brooklyn. 219 is a total. Brooklyn is a 4-point dog here. As far as the injuries, as the body parts, in and out, that kind of thing, there's so few that are even worth mentioning. Brooklyn, nothing. Cleveland, nothing. Again, the Ben Simmons thing, we're not talking about that. But yeah, both these teams are fully healthy, good to go. The Brooklyn rotations are wild. If you played, and this is the kind of thing that can sort of break the slate. If you can figure out the right guy that's going to rise out of Brooklyn today, it might be nobody. But we saw Day'Ron Sharpe, close and was impressive last game. And again, this is a rematch versus Cleveland, 2 big boys on the other side, Allen and Mobley. Yeah, I'll let you start wherever you want to start as far as Cleveland versus Brooklyn. Go for it. It's yours.
This is going to be the game I'm going to have the least exposure to of the slate in terms of how many players per team I'm getting. But I do still want to get a decent amount of some of these pieces. So on the Cleveland side, I don't think I want to be playing a lot of Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen all together, anything like that. But all of these plays are pretty strong individually. Donovan Mitchell is going to be the one that I'm getting to the least. I'll probably get a lot of Darius Garland just because he's so cheap. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I don't mind getting 1 to 2 Cleveland players in most of my lineups, but I'm not trying to overload on them, and I'm not trying to force any of them in. I'm kind of just okay with all of them as last pieces. And then in terms of the cheapies running 150 lineups today, I do think it's worth it just to keep, because it's only a 4-game slate, Rubio, Okoro, and even Karis LeVert above 5K in the pool.
Expect low scores tonight, by the way, unless, again, New York can kind of sort of shake that up to some degree, but probably not a lot of big scores out there that are lurking. The optimal right now on DK currently has 259 points and change as the best, projectable number. Of course, that's probably not – something's going to be higher than that, obviously. That's just the median score. Let's see, FanDuel is 283, a little bit higher on FanDuel. As far as, and we did get a refresh. Thank you in the chat. Mr. Richard was kind of mentioning that I guess about 10 minutes ago, we just got an ownership update, and we've been on the air for 15 minutes, and I had not refreshed since coming on. So that's why I was still on the old one. Ownership-wise, as of right now, for this specific game, there's a lot of good prices on the Cleveland players, right? The matchup is not spectacular. The prices are pretty good. You sort of referenced a couple of them. Mitchell getting 28% at 8.4 on DK. Mobley, obviously, Allen being back, and it's some, a little bit of a tick, but I think he's fine. Allen at 6.3, 1K full less, I think makes him distinctly better. But of course, ownership's reflecting that. Almost 30% on Jared Allen at 6.3 on DK. Mobley getting 18%, 16%, and you said Garland at 20. Oh, there, see, is that a dog?
There
or a
he
puppy?
is.
What is that?
That's a cat.
Oh, that's the cat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not a dog or a puppy.
It's not a kitten?
No. Shadow's a cat. He's not a kitten anymore.
I just think it's hypocrisy to say, oh, well, we can't get into it. We don't have time, I guess. But, yeah.
You're wrong about the dogs and puppies thing, but as a silver lining to you, you were right that we can do one Discord giveaway per day, one free week of RG Premium every single day leading up to the MLB season.
Yeah, we want to get the people excited about baseball for sure. I'm excited. I think you're excited, TJ. And, we want, and also, I think our baseball product is awesome. Dave, Cheese is good. Dave Potts does an incredible job. Just, he makes baseball like fun and interesting and exciting. And like, we like it. It's really hard to convince people. The way he writes about it is spectacular. And also super informative too. He's going to be on some shows. You get our expert survey stuff. Actually, I have a whole list of things we can sort of kind of get into, but yeah, we're going to give you a week free and you at least get a taste. You'll get opening day, right? We give it away today because today's Thursday. And by my math, I went to UCF, so feel free to double check. We would be able to get you, next Thursday. There you go. Okay. How about Brooklyn? I don't like this Brooklyn team much at all. Again, there are pieces. It's really, really tricky to figure out who's going to close outside of a couple players. Bridges is the guy, but he's kind of priced to be the guy now, 16% ownership. Dinwiddie has been solid too, with the prices all the way up there. 8-3 on DK. I think he's 8K on Fanduel. Claxton lost minutes last game, but I'm not certain that's going to happen going forward. I think it's just kind of a one-time thing. And, their coach kind of conceded, like they're just trying to figure out different combinations, like and who's going to work and that kind of thing. And that doesn't really help us in DFS when we're trying to predict minutes amongst DFS and Harris and Curry and Yuta Watanabe. Cam Johnson. It's just such a collection of guys that could potentially rise up. And Daron Sharp, if you want to play that back, like he theoretically, could overtake Claxton again, I guess. But I wouldn't bet on it. We're projecting him for only 10 minutes. He was really good. He's a really good fantasy point minute player. And like, if you're looking for something goofy, you want to get squirrely on a 4-gamer, I don't think it's outrageous to put him in your pool. I would not play him with Claxton, though. I would definitely make a rule. Max 1. But, your thoughts as far as Brooklyn. You have any Daron Sharp takes?
I do actually have some Daron Sharp. As it stands right now, I have it set that I want at least 10% of them, and I want a max of 15% of them. Don't want too much, but want to make sure I'm just getting pieces of them in my lineup. I do have that same group rule right now where I only want to have a max 1 of Claxton and Sharp. I have a max 2 rule between Dinwiddie, Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Nick Claxton today, not because there's that much negative correlation between those players, just because I don't want that many Brooklyn players in a lineup. Yeah. Maybe I'll hand build one full game stack of this or something like that, but this is going to be the team that I have the least exposure to. Bridges is going to be my favorite, Daron Sharp number 2, and then I'll sprinkle in Dinwiddie, Claxton, Royce O'Neal, and Dorian Finney-Smith in tournaments as well, because it's a 4-game slate and they could all have a ceiling game. I just don't feel very confident about any of them, so I'm not going to be getting very much of it. It's crazy. We got over 150 people watching right now, and only 32 people have hit the like button, so that means over 130 people don't like puppies. Yeah, which is crazy, because all you got to do is hit the like button to confirm that you like puppies. So wild that we have so many puppy haters in chat. That's a little bit disappointing. And then to join the Discord giveaway, make sure you head over to the live stream chat, and Steve's going to drop a message. All you got to do is hit the thumbs up on the message to be entered.
Yeah, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. You go into the live stream chat channel. Some channels are free, some are premium. That, of course, it'd be cool to put that in the premium channel. That is in the free channel, and just click on the thumb. That's all you got to do. It makes yourself eligible. You'll see your screen name popping up, spinning in a wheel in about 10-15 minutes or so. We'll have a good time with that. All right, let's move on from Cleveland and Brooklyn. Let's talk about Charlotte and New Orleans. 225.5 is the total. New Orleans happens to be a 9-point favorite here, and we're talking about the body parts, injuries, or lack thereof. And as far as the slate, New Orleans, nothing's changed in a while. No Zion and no Alvarado, as has been the case. Updates the other day were not good. Also, we don't care about beyond today, but just as a general thought, they're not coming back anytime soon, it seems like it. As far as Charlotte, same deal again. No Mark Williams, Cody Martin, and LaMelo Ball still out. Charlotte's still down to just those 10 bodies. That's why they're kind of sort of somewhat popping, I guess, because they're pretty cheap, and the minutes are, I don't want to say guaranteed, they're steady, I guess you can say. But I don't really like this matchup for Charlotte. I think New Orleans, I feel pretty good about New Orleans. And I love Jonas Valanciunas today. I'm curious your thought as far as Joe Val. You know, he's been super, super volatile, and I like him much more when his ownership's down, obviously. And you generally don't want to lean into a guy. This is kind of like the Jaren Jackson rule or like the old Robbie Ray rule for baseball. You generally don't want to lean into the highly volatile player that's going to be reasonably heavily owned. But it's a 4-game slate, and it's hard to avoid heavy ownership, right? What's the update on Valanciunas? It's only 22%. I would love it if that's the case. I don't think it's going to be that low, but I'm hopeful that it's correct.
Staying below 30, like that's totally reasonable, I think, on a 4-game slate. Like that's not high ownership, you know? Like if Jonas Valanciunas is ever 30% owned on a 10-game slate, yeah, you just hit the X button. But on a short slate like this, I don't think that's very highly owned. So he's definitely in play. The Charlotte guys are interesting because I really do feel like this is such the tournament make or break spot today, because we know like New York's potentially going to open something up for us. We know there's a lot of stuff we like in this OKC Clippers game. But it's this one that it's like, this could be a 30-point blowout for New Orleans and no one gets there. Not a single player in this game gets there. Or this could be a 125-122 game where Charlotte finally picks things back up on offense. It's fast-paced, not a lot of defense is played, and 8 different players could have that little flame emoji on DraftKings tonight. So this is, with the large spread, it's really a make-or-break spot. I kind of want to just, like, I'm going to be getting to a lot of Jonas Valanciunas, getting to a little bit of McCollum, getting to quite a bit of Brandon Ingram, and sprinkling in some of their cheapies. And then I'm going to get to a lot of Hayward, Richards, Rozier, etc. as well. The biggest thing for me is when I'm playing the starters on these teams, I kind of want to make sure I'm running it back with the starters on the opposite side as well.
So one thing you said, though, I will take umbrage with. You said if it's a 30-point blowout, nobody's going to get there. You're talking about the entirety of the game or just one side as far as the teams?
Nobody could get there. Like, it's very possible that if that's the case and New Orleans is just blowing them out, they don't have a single player play over 30 minutes.
So I would take the other side of it and take Charlotte, right? And they got 10 players.
And then Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be the guy that I'm heavily overweight on today, which is why I made sure to state, if I'm playing the starters in this game, I want to make sure I'm running it back with starters on the other side.
Yeah, so that was the point I was making. They have 10 guys, and it's very clear if this is like a 25-point game, you know, Oubre, Hayward, Washington, Richards, and Rozier are almost definitely out. Dennis Smith is kind of sort of like their de facto. He's their sixth man. He's a guy that could close on occasion, but I think he would have to close. He would have to mop up just because there's not an 11th person to my knowledge. So if this game no matter how ugly it gets, Smith will be out there, and he's a good fantasy point minute player, pretty solid, right? And he would get some extra run. So I think he's a guy that can benefit if you think his game's going to blow out. I think he's pretty interesting, and I like his price a good bit on DK. Now, the tricky part is the ownership's there, right? We're looking at, let's see, go ahead.
He's without a doubt, I think, the safest play on Charlotte today. He's probably my favorite play on Charlotte. Gordon Hayward is very cheap, too, that he could sneak in there, but Smith Jr. is probably my favorite play. It's just like, it is one of those things that, like, I don't feel the need to set a rule that I want at least one Charlotte player in every lineup because they might score 90 points.
Yeah, so
it's, as you mentioned, last 15 games, right? They're the worst offensive team in the NBA. They've just been playing so terrible that, yes, I do agree Dennis Smith Jr. has the safest kind of minutes for, especially if this blows out. He could play in a close game. He will play in a blowout because they only have those 10 bodies. The biggest thing is just like, I don't know if they're going to score enough points, but they could just get back to the Charlotte of old where they're jacking a bunch of threes and a lot of them are going in and they put up a big game. So it's really a high risk, high reward spot in tournaments today, I think.
One of my official stands, I think, in the slate's going to be less Charlotte starters than the field. And I think they're just coming in too heavily owned, some of these guys. Like Gordon Hayward is 32%. Now he's 5'7" on DK, and we're projecting for 30 fantasy points, which is fine. But he's one of the first guys that would get pulled. DSJ is getting a fair bit of ownership at 26%, 5'1" on DK. Richards also looks pretty good, too. The Washington one, I'm not really there at 20%. Rozier, 15%. Yeah. Oubre, interesting that nobody's going to play him. I suppose if this game stays close, he's probably an interesting play. But like you said, or kind of referencing, I think, what I mentioned in the survey is that Charlotte, the worst team offensively in the association in the last 10 games, right behind San Antonio and Detroit and Portland, 4 points worse, which is like, that's massive. They've been putrid. They've been terrible. So yeah, I just don't like the Charlotte side as much as the field does. And, I might have like one, like what if go the other way as far as a lineup, but overall I'm going to be less in the field as far as Charlotte's. Your favorite player on New Orleans, like I feel pretty good about Ingram as far as raw points, and he's interesting at 9K because it's an overspend. I think it's a clear overspend, right? 9% ownership, but absolutely he could put up like 55 points and be the highest scoring player in the slate. That wouldn't shock anybody. Valanciunas, the minutes have risen of late. Larry Nance has been playing through an injury. I know he had like that 11-minute stint the other day or whatever it was. He played a good bit in the first half, but we even saw Joe Val like play garbage time, which is like well in the garbage time, which is kind of weird. Like I think 3 minutes or so he got the hook, but just stuck around a little bit too long, little peculiar. And also Charlotte's the second worst, and they give the second most rebounds to opponents because they play fast and they don't make shots. And if you play fast, you don't make shots, there's a lot of rebounding opportunities to go around. And I think it's just OKC who gives up the most, last I checked, as far as rebounds in total to opponents. Fair play on each side. We'll move on.
On New Orleans, from a point per dollar standpoint, it's JV, but based on ownership for tournaments, it's going to be Brandon Ingram. I am getting to just because it's only a 4-game slate, I am sprinkling in the Larry Nance Jr.'s, the Najee Marshalls in tournaments as well, just in case this does, for Marshall, in case this gets into a blowout for Nance, just because it's like you mentioned about the rebounds with Charlotte. Nance could play 20 minutes today, 15 minutes today, and have 20 fantasy points, and that could be more than enough on a 4-game slate. And then on the Charlotte side of things, I think my favorite is going to be Dennis Smith Jr. The next I feel most confident in are Gordon Hayward and Nick Richards, just because of those cheap price tags. And then Rozier, Oubre, and Washington, I'm only going to be playing them in game stacks with the Pelicans.
All right. Going to give away a week free of that RotoGrinders Premium in just a couple minutes here. Again, if you want to join that, if you want to be eligible, just jump in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Hit the live stream chat channel. Just click on that thumb and you are eligible. Producer Steve will put your name on the wheel and we'll spin it momentarily. Are we jumping back to New York? We're not going to get news, are we? We're going to get that around 6:30 and we're going to be off air and it's going to be crunch time. I'm guessing that's what's happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might as well just do it last.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So OKC and the Clippers, 232 is the total. Clippers are 4-point favorites here. Again, no Paul George, which opens some stuff up for the Clippers. We're assuming that Eric Gordon jumps in the starting lineup. Man should get a little bit extra run. Batum should get some more run. Bobby Covington can get some run. It's really tricky to figure out, though, because the Clippers are another team that, you know a couple of guys that are going to close, but you don't know all of them for sure. Injury-wise, otherwise they're clean outside of Norman Powell, who's been out for a while. OKC, as healthy as we've seen them in a while. Nothing new on their end. Your assessment, how much we kind of touched on Kawhi, but I think Westbrook's really, really interesting. And if his ownership's going to be, again, everything's relative, right? On a 4-gamer, I think it's like 20% last I saw. Has that changed? Because that seems a little low.
Now.
Okay. Wait, hold on.
Or
30.
No, the screen share we have right now says 30, but maybe that's the non-updated version. My lineup HQ says 20. Yeah,
so this feels like one of those spots we might get the old school triple double from Russ. 12, 11 and 12 or something like that. Some turnovers, a couple stocks. Revenge game if you want to call that too. Sure, why not have some fun with it? Only 20% ownership. The price is kind of up there, but certainly he gets elevated. A lot of guys get elevated. We're expecting Gordon to jump in the starting lineup, play 34 minutes, which is a fair bit. How will you handle it? I assume you have some rules here as far as the Clippers, because it could be Batum getting some extra run. This game definitely can go small. I think it's heavily in danger of going small against OKC. So like Zubac is one of those guys can just disappear. He can pull a Will Barton out there. Wouldn't shock any of us. Clippers, what do you got for me?
I do have a lot of rules in this game. You're absolutely right. I have a minimum of 2 Clippers I want to have in every single one of my lineups today. For the most part, it's always going to have Kawhi Leonard, but if not, it's going to have a couple of the cheapies in there. I do have I'm going to be very particular about how I do this, though. I have a rule where I max 1
Zubats, Plumlee, Morris Sr., Batum, and Covington. I kind of almost want to just change that to exactly one, because like one of those players is going to have a big game. We just don't know which one it's going to be. But as it stands right now, I have it as a max one because Covington could get in there. Who knows? Batum could have a big game, but it's likely not going to be more than one of them. Maybe just based on the price tags, Morris and Zubats both in the starting lineups, or Morris and Batum could both have big games, but I don't really see the likelihood of it being more than one of them. So I got that rule set to as max 1 right now. I have a max 2 of Russell Westbrook, Eric Gordon, and Terrence Mann. And then I have, and then that actually is it for it. So a minimum of 2 players per team, a max 2 of the 3 guard/wings, and then a max 1 of all the bigs.
What about OKC, and I guess specifically SGA? How much are you prioritizing him?
SGA is going to be my favorite tournament spend up on the slate. This is a close spread, high total. Both teams care about this game, where the Clippers are going to be chalky. Everybody's playing a lot of Clippers. SGA coming in at sub 20% ownership on DraftKings, sub 10% on Fanduel. I love the idea of pairing Kawhi and SGA together, making a little mini stack. That's my favorite tournament spend up on the slate. And then even the likes of Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, I love both of those guys in tournaments. And I'll even have some sprinkles of Luguentz Dort, Isaiah Joe, Jalen Williams, and even maybe Lindy Waters as well, just because 4-game slate, anything can happen.
Lindy Waters. Every once in a while, he makes an appearance and does this thing. But yeah, currently projected really, really poorly. But OKC does some goofy stuff sometimes. All right, let's give away a week.
Speaking of anytime, we'll do this giveaway right away here. But speaking of anytime there's a big spread, not that this is a big spread, but like you can always take shots on high point per minute players off the bench in a big spread game. Did you see what Andre Drummond did last night?
I did not. I assume he did. That was Chicago versus Philly, and Philly walloped him. So I imagine he crushed the fourth quarter.
Yeah, got up to 16 minutes, and he had 13, 12, 1, and 2 blocks.
Yeah, there you go. That's just how that goes down. And like the previous game, you play like 5 or 6 minutes because that's just how it goes with Drummond. But all right, let's give away a week free of RG Premium, and you're going to get some MLB, which is there you go. At least one day you'll get a taste. Spin it, Steve. You're with me.
Steve's with us.
We can't
give her a spin
if he's talking. Is it spinning right now and slowing down, or what's? Oh, there we go.
There it is. Now it's spinning.
By the way,
beep,
is
beep 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 beep.
We got a winner?
We got a winner. Monkey Wrangler is the winner. Congratulations. You have won 1 week free of RG Premium. Make sure to get in contact with Steve, and he'll hook you up with that. And people in the YouTube, there's 250 people of you. Come on. Let's start hitting the like button here. I can't believe that there's 200 of you who hate puppies. It's National Puppy Day, and all you got to do to confirm that you like puppies is just hit the like button. And so on National Puppy Day, for you to this audaciously just confirm that you hate man's best friend, it's a bit of an odd take. Just hit the like button, and you can take away all that bad juju. Somebody's mentioning in chat, based on last night, Embiid got hurt. I don't think Embiid actually got hurt last night. I think the spread was just, or the Philly was just absolutely trouncing Chicago, and so they didn't need to put him back in.
He was in the locker room. He didn't start the second half, I believe. I'm not really sure if he fully came back or not. I wasn't following that game as much. I had my my baseball keeper league dynasty draft last night, so I was more focused on baseball and kind of kept an eye on basketball. But
I think it was one of those ones that they were just absolutely dominating that game, and so it was like, hey Joel, just take a little rest, take a little break. We don't need you to get back out there.
Okay, so we're not going to get the New York news, almost definitely. The Crunch Time team will, but we're waiting on Mitch Robb. He's currently questionable, back half of back-to-back and travel. Also, Brunson is dinged. If Brunson doesn't go, I mean, quickly would become probably the best play on the slate. Like his price got baked up there for a while because of a similar situation when Brunson was out, but now it's starting to falling just enough. I'm checking to see if even if then. As I do that, I will throw it to you. Talk to me about New York, and feel free to talk about both potential paths depending on the information that's going to be coming in probably in a half hour. Who knows? We'll see.
Assuming everyone is in, I do still really like this game environment. 2-point spread. Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, my two favorite plays, and then from there it's just going to be sprinkles of like 10-ish%. Barrett, Hart, Robinson, and then maybe even guys like Hartenstein and Grimes, just because, like we mentioned, 4-game slate, anything can happen. If Jalen Brunson is out, that's obviously where things change, because Emmanuel quickly becomes one of the very best plays, if not the best play on the entire slate. Barrett becomes much more interesting. Randall becomes much more interesting. Josh Hart becomes much more interesting. And then if Mitch Robinson is out, Hartenstein basically becomes the type of player that you're going to play in every one of your lineups. I don't know the status of a guy like Jericho Sims. Like, is Jericho Sims going to come back into our lives? Is he healthy and dressing?
My guess is Jericho Sims starts, actually. That's my best guess. And still, Hartenstein probably plays more minutes. That would be, if I were to guess that path.
And at 3.7, like at 3.7, if we get Mitch Rob out, Hartenstein's probably the cash center.
Yeah, I wonder what people are going to do as far as like if Sims. I hate doing this if then stuff. I was hoping to get clarity, but this is where we're at. But I think what would happen is they kind of like Sims starting, and Hartenstein would come in, and like how hesitant would you be? But I'm not certain they would play 48 minutes combined, but I would guess. Actually, you know what? We have a what if. Let's see what the. Okay, so we're giving 22 minutes to Sims. If Robinson's out, we're giving 22 minutes to Sims and 22 to Hartenstein. Yeah, so a little bit of a hedge there, but that's kind of where I agree. And Hartenstein, a little bit better fantasy player as well. So projected for 18, 19 fantasy points for Hartenstein and about 16 or so for Sims. I believe he's still minimum on DK. So theoretically, if he's 3K, I'd also think you throw him at power forward too, if I'm not mistaken. He's not necessarily center only. And if Brunson's out, we're giving quickly a projection of 37 fantasy points. He becomes a really premier DK value, over 6-point DK value. And strong value on Fanduel as well. He's just too cheap. RJ Barrett will become a DK value play, and Julius Randle looks really good. 47 points. Barrett we projected at 35. So both those guys will look really solid. And of course, they're both out. I guess we're giving Hartenstein a couple more minutes, and we're giving Sims a couple more minutes. So we're chopping them at 48, 24, 24. Interesting that Josh Hart's not even a positive value. I guess he's priced up more than I thought he was. 6.3 on Fanduel, 5.9 on DK, and his projection would go to about 29, 28. So, playable. Good rebound guy when he's really getting going. But that's what you have to monitor as far as New York. Are you lock button type? Like if you see that Brunson's out, you think quickly's a lock? Because it's not like he's like 4K the way he was, previous iterations of this. But I think he's 5'8". Still a really good price when you consider he's just going to run the show out there a good bit. Play alongside the starters, but still just play enough. I guess we're giving him 36 minutes, if that's the case. If there's no Brunson, is that lock city for you, or what are you at as far as? And it's a lot of scenarios, and I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm just curious where your brain is at if Brunson's out.
I don't know if I would lock quickly specifically, just because he's probably in that scenario on a 4-game slate, he's probably going to end up 60 to 80% owned. And so I may just end up leaving it in a situation where it's all right, I'll just match that. Quickly's not going to make or break my slate. I'm just same as everybody else here. But I probably would make a rule that I'd play at least one of Quickly, Barrett, Grimes in all of my lineups, something like that, just based on one of those guys is probably going to be having a big game. What about Orlando? I like the Orlando side quite a bit, just because this feels like a really good game stack. None of these Orlando guys are too expensive. Banchero at 7.6, Fultz at 7. They're both fine. Wendell Carter Jr., don't mind him at all. Franz Wagner is probably the one that I'm looking to get on the most underweight on, just with him coming in at 27% ownership. I'll get in the mid to high 20s for the rest of these guys, and then for Franz, I'll just get 15 to 20%. But my favorite is going to be Cole Anthony at 5.6.
Just taking a peek as far as the ownership stuff. And again, this can really get shaken up as far as the New York news, and I expect it's coming in probably 20 minutes or so. And certainly before lock, because this is a 7 o'clock game. It's the only 7 o'clock game, New York versus Orlando. Ownership-wise, what we're seeing in this game as of right now, Franz Wagner, I should specify, getting 27%. Cole Anthony coming off the bench. We're expecting 25 minutes. Sometimes he closes, sometimes he doesn't. Who is it? Gary Harris played pretty well last game, so they rewarded him with closing. And I think Cole Anthony did not close. Banchero getting 17%. If you guys have any questions in chat, feel free to fire them off. UCLA versus Gonzaga. I have no idea, Javon. I could not help you out with that. Do you care for college basketball? Do you have an answer? Because I don't know. But I can tell you this. The poll is closed. Is a dog always a puppy? No, 55%. I stand corrected. Of course it's not. As much as you want it to be. It's not what you want. It's just facts, you know? Dogs are not always puppies. It's ridiculous to think otherwise. You have a UCLA versus Gonzaga take or anything college basketball? Do you care about such things?
I usually love myself some March Madness. This is probably the first year in my life that I can remember that I have not made a bracket.
Yeah. I made one just
because
because DK. I had the free entry to like the 100,000 DK, whatever, diamonds. So I put something in there. And I know I picked Furman because of my brother, but that's all I know. I think I have Alabama. I think that's kind of chalky, right? Doesn't matter. I did want to mention we're going to get the crunch time crew in about 5 minutes or so. I feel like I teased this at the top, so I want to pay it off as well. Both of us, we did the expert survey today. Let's just kind of run down the questions really quickly, right? Your favorite player to spend up on, your favorite spend up for optimal lineups. It's the same answer across the board. We'll reiterate. You know, some people are coming in now. They weren't here a half hour ago. What's your answer to that?
I don't know. I'm still just perplexed that we got like 230 people in chat who just hate puppies. It's weird. I don't know. No one's hitting the like button. People are coming at puppies in chat on National Puppy Day.
They like puppies just fine, I'm sure.
They don't.
That's okay.
That's not what they're saying right now, Dean. They don't. They hate the puppies. It's weird.
You're putting them in a false scenario. There's no correlation to hitting like buttons and liking puppies or not. I don't believe that scenario exists.
Well, then you're just wrong, Dean.
All right, fair enough. The answer is Kawhi. That's the unanimous answer. As far as your favorite large field tournaments, I have your answers in front of me. I don't know if do you know your answers? Do you remember what you put?
Yeah, it's SGA for favorite contrarian play.
Yeah, your favorite salary league play for optimal lineups, you had
DSJ.
Yeah, I like that one too. So I put him for like the favorite salary for large field tournaments, but I guess I wasn't. He's going to be fairly popular on DK, so either way, I like him as well. Favorite bust relative to salary? You didn't like Kelly Oubre, huh?
I just think he's a bit too expensive. Like, there's nobody on this slate that screams bust to me. And on this Charlotte team, I would just much rather play all the other ones all the other guys that are so much cheaper.
The person, the player you're afraid of being underweight on compared to the field, I kind of cheated a little bit, but your answer was Donovan Mitchell. Explain yourself.
Yeah, I think he's got a high ceiling, and I'm probably only going to have like 10-15%.
Yeah, I put the Cleveland-Brooklyn game. Like I don't think I'm really in on that game, and I'm sure I'll get pieces, but I'm going to be less in the field. That was sort of my answer because I just don't like the environment of two teams that play kind of slow and the best defensive teams.
Brunson out, Mitch Rob in.
Okay, so it's quickly season. That's how that's going to go down. Yeah. And the Mitch Rob's kind of interesting, by the way, just worth noting. He's really, really cheap. And I assume if he's healthy, he's good to go. I think he had a bit of a limp last night. Read that someplace. But, I assume if he's playing, he's good to go. He's really cheap. There's not a ton of opportunity cost at center today, as there typically is. If you look at the centers on the slate, you're not looking at anything. I think Jovel might be the highest projected center. I think so, as far as raw points. Is that correct? Don't want to misspeak. Let's see. 37 fantasy points for Jovel and DK, 35 for Mobley. Yeah, so he's the number one guy. So the opportunity cost not as high. You have a thought as far as Mitch Rob?
Yeah, I like him for tournaments today. $4,600. I think that's a nice cheap price. He's got a high ceiling today against Orlando. I don't mind getting some Mitch Rob today at all.
True North says now I like Hartenstein even more. Yeah, Hartenstein's going to get lost in the slate for sure. And he's a guy that, theoretically could play. We've seen him close before for a healthy Mitch Rob. It's happened. But, there's some volatility to it. And, it's a good – whenever there's a 4-game slate, it's a good time to lead in on volatility because when goofiness happens, there's less stuff for it to have to beat. When goofiness happens on a 12-game slate or a 10-game slate, there's a lot of different paths. But, for example, if, Daron Sharp somehow gets 20 and 10 again out of nowhere, right? Like that probably is in optimal lineups. But last night you didn't have to have Sharp for Portland. It was certainly useful. You didn't have to have it though, right? Let's see. A couple other things before I guess the crunch time crew is coming in just a few minutes or so. We have Roth. We got Will, Squirrel Patrol. If there's any questions in chat, we'll do our best to knock them out before they show up, but no promises because, again, they are knocking on the door in a second. Favorite team to target in general? Yeah, go ahead.
It's probably going to be New York now, if not the Clippers, but between the New York and Clippers, what does Quentin Grimes' what-if projection go to in the case that obviously Roth's guy, Jalen Brunson, is now out?
Yeah, Roth, solitary tier for Kevin Roth. No Jalen Brunson, just rolled out. Roth is going to unregister his $6.
Yeah, I'm screwed. Yeah. It was a big night for me. It was $6 whole. You're right.
I didn't mean to say that like smugly or condescendingly. Sorry. That wasn't in my intent. Quentin Grimes, we're expecting 24 minutes and a projection of like 16 DK points, 15 Fanduel. But if he's like still in min, I guess, or he's probably not, is he? He's
$3,400.
Playable in the pool, sure, why not? But there you go. Right as the crunch time crew comes in, the news drops. Mitch Rob in, Brunson out. It's quickly season. Roth, this time tomorrow, you will be getting tweets regarding rain. Get excited, or precipitation. I should say weather. I don't know. What's the right technical term I should say?
Wait, why are you talking about tomorrow?
This time.
This is DFS, Dean. We don't care about tomorrow. We only care about today.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. You plagiarized me in the expert survey today, and now you're plagiarizing me on air. Just pull a string.
You mean like a week? You mean like a week from now when there's baseball, right?
Yeah, I'm getting my days confused.
All right. You scared me.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
I had like a miniature heart attack when you said tomorrow. I was like, I've got life to live still. I got a week left of life.
People are still yelling at you about golf, probably. I don't know. Is there a big following for golf weather?
Yeah, but they're much kinder. they're like much gentler folk. They're like, golf clap. Good job. Good work, Kevin.
Well, because you know what it is, the ramifications are not as strong. In baseball, it's like it's just over. It's done. Right. You're out.
Yeah.
In golf, at least golfing.
Yeah.
I think not to make excuses for the terrible people that tweet you about weather when like you're not 100% correct. But
no, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. How's everything else, Roth? Everything good?
Life is good. No complaints. Other than Jalen Brunson being out, but like I'll survive. He'll be back.
Squirrel Patrol's here as well as Will. Squirrel, have you been to 2 live finals since you've last been on the show?
Yeah, I have. I was in Nashville last week and Denver the week before that.
Any
so many live
anecdotes? Anything worth
finals.
sharing?
He doesn't even so many live finals. He doesn't even remember where he was.
It actually runs together. Somebody asked me on the elevator in Denver, like, "What do you think of the city?" Oh, it's great. People are so friendly. I'm like, "What city am I in?" Like, I couldn't remember. Everybody was very friendly. So,
did you miss not seeing me?
Of course, yeah, always.
I'm gonna be honest. Next time I saw a picture of you and Christy together, and I just I got a large amount of a big FOMO. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the backstory there that Christy and Squirrel have you guys met at a previous live final? They all made it back. I don't want to name names, but one of those 3 did not make it back, TJ.
I know. That's hence the FOMO, Dean.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm saying. You don't got to rub it in harder. We already got people hating puppies in the chat, and now you're rubbing in that I didn't make a live final. It's unbelievable. Tough day for me today, Roth. I'm telling you. Take it away.
It's National Puppy Day. It's a 4-game slate, Roth, so we debated for a minute or so. I won't tell you which side is which, but feel free to jump in, Will. Anybody else? Is a dog always a puppy?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Squirrel
They're always your puppy. It's like a kid. They're always your baby, no matter how old they are. It's the same with a puppy.
No.
Bang.
No.
I was asking Will.
A puppy is always a dog. A dog is not always a puppy.
A dog is not always a puppy, but certain dogs always can be puppies.
No. What certain dogs? What certain dogs? Certain breeds? Your dog?
It's a lot in the personality as well.
Is it, Dean? That's like asking your mother, "Are you still a baby?" Like, you're not still a baby.
I have a quick anecdote
you're
on
an
this before
adult.
we bounce. Yeah. I call my dog my little puppy face because he's got a little puppy face, even though he's like 5 years old. And I called the vet one time. I was like, oh, my little puppy face isn't feeling well. And they're like, excuse me, his name is Face? I was like, no, sorry. I call him my puppy face. His name is Remy. His name is
TJ,
Face.
You got anything else, TJ?
This is awesome, Roth. That's great. That's great. I'm going to tell this story at my wedding. Like, and
I don't know about that level. Look at that cute dog. Look at that. That's a puppy. I don't care how old it is.
That is a cute dog. You said, look at that cute dog. You didn't say, look at that cute puppy.
No, I'm telling you, Roth,
out your own.
I've already got it set up. Like, I did stand-up comedy when I was in college, for those of you that don't know. So I've already got this story set up. You just get up. What's up, Chicago? So, look, I called the vet the other day, and, I told him, hey, my dog's sick. Something's going on. He's throwing up. I just want to bring my cute puppy Face in to see you guys. And they said, oh, so the name of your dog is Face? See, that's how you set it up. And it's funny.
That's how it went. That's precisely how it went. But
is any of these videos on the YouTube your college experience to some extent? I want to watch this. Is it available for purchase?
Man, I did have a video of like my very first stand-up. I did it at this spot called the End Zone when I was in college. It was pretty fun. But I don't have any more video footage. I wish I did.
Well, that's a bummer. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
for myself,
it's very unfortunate.
TJ and TJ's dog, we will bid you all adieu. Step aside for the Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time. Taking y'all up the lock. It's Squirrel, it's Will, it's Roth. Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it. Good stuff. As always, gentlemen, welcome to it. It is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by Fanduel, and I am joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. The aforementioned Squirrel back after a couple live final appearances. Squirrel, what's up, man?
It's the first really bad day of allergy season for me. But I'm going to try to be quick on the mute button when the sneezing happens. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, ours is finally dropping. Like, we hit spring in Houston so much earlier than elsewhere that finally our pollen counts are dropping. Not fun when it's allergy season. We got Chief as well. What up, Chief? You coming in with? Are you cash or GPPs today for us?
I don't know either. Both, none. Listen, I don't try to sugarcoat it for the people. I don't play cash games on 4-game slates. I don't play cash games on 8-game slates. I hate cash games. But obviously I've played cash. I understand it. So you're in good hands either way.
All right. Well, I feel like Squirrel, you're going to be our cash guy just based on that. I don't know. What do you think?
Sure. I actually think that's a reasonable take by Chief. Like cash games, NBA season, like late March, probably the worst. But probably the worst. Like the thing you get yourself into. You don't want to get like mixed up in that kind of crowd. Like playoffs, like play some cash games. Like beginning of the season, play some cash games. It's going to be rough sledding post All-Star break. Before the playoffs.
I just feel like everyone who plays cash games is really sharp. You're not getting your casual me's coming in a cash game because I'm trying to win $100,000. So the donkeys are in tournaments, and I'm pointing at myself. That's me.
Yeah, you're not in late March. You're not.
Yeah.
So, but we maybe think of it more conceptually in terms of like chalkier players, like better projected players versus like guys that are not as highly projected, but could have like a highly variant score and do well in tournaments.
Excellent. Okay. You are going to be quick on the mute because of allergy season. I am going to be on my mute because I have a screaming banshee just outside of my office. So let's dive into this slate. Let's kind of break it down and go ahead and kind of Squirrel, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little FanDuel cash build.
Oh, sure. So yeah, was it a 4-game slate? Let's see. So the big news that we had, the big injury news was Jalen Brunson. So he got ruled out. I guess it was Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson. And they got ruled out Brunson got ruled out right before the show started, or right as we were coming on. Mitchell Robinson is in. And so it's a big deal because like some of the Knicks guys are like pretty cheap. And there actually is some interesting things you can do in tournaments there. But point guard, so you're going to be getting a lot of Emmanuel quickly just because of the Jalen Brunson news. And on FanDuel, he is 5,700 point guard and shooting guard eligible. The other point guard getting a lot of Russell Westbrook, some Spencer Dinwiddie as well. And then more tournament plays like Dennis Smith Jr., Markelle Fultz. Moving over to shooting guard, I really like RJ Barrett. I think he's a good cash game play if you're playing cash games. But I think he's going to be like lower because I think everybody thinks immediately Emmanuel quickly. And then they even go on to like Quentin Grimes before they get to RJ Barrett. Barrett is not a good shooter, but he puts up points in a lot of different ways, and we get fantasy points in lots of different ways. So I think he's somebody that like people tend to skip over. He can be a very frustrating player to watch because he'll miss a bunch of shots, but he'll get some steals, get some blocks, get some rebounds, and hit the occasional shot. And there are more shots now with Jalen Brunson out. Other shooting guards, Cole Anthony, and then Quentin Grimes is shooting guard, small forward eligible. He's 4,200 on FanDuel. He's going to benefit from Jalen Brunson being out as well. He's like not highly projected. There's just not a lot of like small forward options. So I'd actually probably play him a little bit more at small forward. The other small forward for cash games on FanDuel, Kawhi Leonard, also getting some Trey Murphy. I actually kind of like Trey Murphy again. Maybe a little more of a tournament take. I just can't help myself. But I think he's a younger player that's going to get some more run, even if New Orleans is winning this game handily. Moving on to power forward, Kawhi Leonard also eligible at power forward. PJ Washington is a guy I'm getting a lot of. And then Paolo Banchero with Orlando. And then center, not a lot of good centers, but you can play Mitchell Robinson, Nick Richards, and also Mason Plumlee is a guy I'm getting a lot of at center on FanDuel.
Okay, very good. Chief, what are we doing in tournaments? You got 4 games. Is this where you're just picking a game and stacking it up, or are you picking and choosing?
Well, I mean, typically on a 4-game slate, I think for tournaments, and I mean, man, I know Squirrel talked about cash games, but man, one of the greatest tournament players of all time is on the show. I'm sure you can co-sign this. Yeah. You're going to have to eat some chalk, and you just got to decide what's the best and maybe what's worth fading to you. So, like, for instance, on today's slate, I think Emmanuel quickly, now that Brunson's out, I mean, he's going to be, I got to guess, in single entry stuff and maybe some of the, I would guess large field, he's probably pushing 40 plus. And then when we start getting to the monster and some of these other things, quickly might be 60% on and some of that stuff. That's my take on it. At 5,700 with no Brunson, especially after he's just come off some monster games with Brunson out, I think quickly is going to have massive ownership. The problem is you probably need him. Like, I don't consider him bad chalk, like, Malachi Branham from the Spurs or KDB from the Spurs. Like, Emmanuel quickly should be good chalk. So at 5,700, I think he's going for 30-plus fantasy points anyway. So I think he's on the list. And then, it's just where do you want to take some of those, what I consider to be alternative shots. So, like, for instance, we've got Brandon Ingram on FanDuel on a 4-game slate, around 20%. Like, that feels like a good investment to me. Charlotte, we already know that they're terrible on defense.
I feel like we're getting a little bit of a delay here.
Bring a pause after the Charlotte being bad at defense.
Yes, but it's noteworthy. It's worth saying it and then just letting it hang for like 10 full seconds to really let it soak in. I assume Chief will be back. He would kind of cut out a second earlier and then bounce back. So Squirrel, if you wouldn't mind just taking the reins from there, obviously you're playing tournaments anyways, so I think you can handle that.
Yeah, so I guess on the topic of Charlotte being bad at defense, like they're bad at defense and particularly rebounding, and they play at like a fairly quick pace. So I think where Chief was going with that is probably towards some of the New Orleans guys. So like Trey Murphy, I think Josh Richardson's in play. I kind of like Jonas Valanciunas because Charlotte can't rebound. Like they give up a ton of rebounds, and like Valanciunas is just a guy. He's one of the few NBA players I've met in person at a FanDuel live final. Had they brought in the guys, from New Orleans, from the Pelicans.
Good vibes.
It's like, this guy's huge. Like, this guy's pulling down some boards. And then Charlotte's one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. And Valanciunas is not a guy that's projecting that highly. So, big fan of Valanciunas. I actually think there's a little bit of an intriguing play with this Knicks situation because like Isaiah Hartenstein is still, even just as the backup center with Mitchell Robinson playing, I'm getting some Hartenstein in my lineups just because he kind of fills in terms of the the positional need. So Hartenstein's an interesting option, kind of zig when other people are zagging, which is what you want to do in tournaments. Like play Hartenstein even though Mitchell Robinson is playing, but you probably don't want to be playing him in the same lineup.
Sure. What do you need from Hartenstein to make that work? Like, what kind of a night are you looking for him, or what kind of a game script?
Probably like 20 points, 20, 21. It can really go fairly low. He just needs to outscore the other guys at his position. It's both power forward and center eligible, I believe, on Fanduel. So that plays a role in getting him in some of the lineups. And also like 3 points for blocks and steals on Fanduel is huge. So like if he just gets a couple of blocks, a couple of steals, in 19, 20 minutes, which, normal backup center minutes, then he's suddenly landing himself on the tournament winning lineup.
Gotcha. Would you be okay with Randall and Hartenstein together? You mentioned you wouldn't play both centers together, but what about Randall?
I think it's maybe not totally ideal, but I wouldn't like set a rule against it or anything like that.
Gotcha. Very good. We got Chief back. I just want to make sure you're not lagging or anything.
Yeah, it looks like my internet went out and then came back in, so it might have just been something weird. I heard you guys saying looks like you're lagging. I looked down and I saw it was like no network connection, and then by the time I got out, it was back up and I had to click back in. So I don't know. I guess it just had a brain fart or something.
All right. Well, welcome back. Let's kind of jump right back to it. We were just breaking down. We talked about Charlotte, not great defensively, plays at a fast pace. So clearly there are some plays on Indiana that we might be interested in. Where else are you looking?
Yeah, that's kind of a main target. Like, I mean, all of these guys. So CJ McCollum is probably too expensive. Brandon Ingram might be a little bit too expensive. Jonas Valanciunas is is very expensive as well on FanDuel, and I really don't care. Like, I like all of these guys from the Pelicans just because they're really not getting a lot of ownership outside of maybe Trey Murphy and Herb Jones for this to be such a small slate. So those are 8K players, and I'm going to spend up to be contrarian. JV, if he's ever going to put up 50, my God, it's against the Hornets. Like,
yeah.
If the day's coming, it's got to be today. So I really like the Pelicans. I think those are good targets. And I think relative to the size of the slate, their ownership is very low. So that's a reason why I like a lot of them. Paul George is out. How does that affect the already bad defense of the Clippers with Russell Westbrook, as we've already seen? I'm also interested in the Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA 10-6. Most people are going to play Kawhi. Flip it over to the other side. We got SGA around 10%. Like that's a big difference between two guys that, in my opinion, have comparable ceilings at this stage in their career, which we might think Kawhi has a bigger ceiling because Paul George is out. And that may be partially true, but SGA, just for 600 more, getting lower ownership, you can just reallocate some of that salary, play him at point guard, especially when you've already got these. I think you guys were talking about the Knicks. You've got Grimes. You've got those cheap pieces already. You got RJ at 6,400 who's cheap. So I like those guys a ton. And that's basically the basis of where I'm going to build my tournament lineups. I still don't mind taking a shot on Mikal Bridges. Looks like his fantasy points may have fallen off of a cliff, but on a 4-game slate, I'm still willing to play him in some Dinwiddie, even in a kind of sort of bad spot against Cleveland. The one night Mikal Bridges goes off for 50 again, 4-game slate, I'm willing to invest in some shares.
Okay, very good. I did see a name here that didn't expect, but Michael says, hey, why is nobody talking about McBride with Brunson out? Any interest from anybody?
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah. I thought I mentioned him. Maybe not. Okay. I think it was along the lines of the Hartenstein thing. I was going to actually mention McBride if Brunson was playing along the lines of the same thing with Hartenstein. Like he kind of fits positionally and doesn't necessarily need to do that much. But yeah, I think Miles McBride is definitely in play.
Okay, very good. Hey, that was for FanDuel. By the way, if you didn't know, this show is actually sponsored by FanDuel. Oh, I didn't have the read up. Gosh, I'm the worst host in the business. This show is sponsored by FanDuel. Make sure you're signed up. They got all kinds of great things happening. Sign up if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts. Because if you're in Massachusetts, you get a special offer. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. So big shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up on this here YouTube. Guys, let's kick it over to DK and talk about the build there. Is there differences? Is there changes, Squirrel? Is it the same? I feel like on small slates, it's so often like same premise, same concept here.
Yeah, it's going to be just about the same.
Yeah.
Just trying to run some things. So you're getting a little bit more Knicks. Like the Knicks are a little bit cheaper, which is going to be a little difficult. Maybe for tournaments, you have to put some thought into like how many Knicks are too many. But yeah, it's a lot of the same guys. Was it?
Wait, I thought I thought I muted myself to yell at my dog because he's like definitely on the counter, like eating food, and I can hear it. So I like tried to mute myself and yell, and I just yelled into the mic really freaking loud.
You might better send Puppy Face back to the vet.
That's really embarrassing.
I'd be getting off that counter if I was the dog.
Scared the shit out of everyone watching.
I got off my own counter. Hey.
I'm so sorry, guys. Everyone watching probably had a heart attack. That's my bad. That's my bad, homies. I'm sorry. I thought I was muted. I'm now going to mute myself and not yell at my dog. All right, continue. Sorry.
Anywho, so yeah, point guard is Emmanuel Quickly, shooting guard, Quentin Grimes, Russell Westbrook also fills the guard position. With Paul George out, that's definitely a consideration. I think he's priced a little bit better on DraftKings, or just seems to fit better in the build. Cole Anthony is also consideration. Then Miles McBride, just mentioning him, he's only 3,000 on DraftKings. So I think he's a bigger consideration on DraftKings at 3,000. Small forward, I still like me some RJ Barrett. I think he actually scores a little bit better on DraftKings with the possibility of getting double bonuses, double bonuses. Small forward also Gordon Hayward, getting a lot more Gordon Hayward on DraftKings and on FanDuel. Power forward Julius Randle is 9,100 on DraftKings. I forget his price on FanDuel. I just wasn't getting a ton of them on FanDuel. 10,300 on FanDuel. That's why I wasn't getting him. Whereas 9,100 on DraftKings without Jalen Brunson, he's going to see a big increase in usage. And then Jonas Valanciunas actually is probably the cash game center at only 7,100, more affordable on DraftKings and on FanDuel.
Okay, very good. Let's talk tournaments. Chief, what are you doing on DK? I'll try not to scream in the middle of your explanation. Scroll went, excuse me? Pardon me? You're like, why did you just yell at me? Oh, shit.
Listen, this is what makes the shows good anyway. Like this, that's what makes the shows good.
I am sweating profusely in embarrassment right now, but all right, let's Chief, take it away. What are we doing in DK tournament?
Yeah, so DK, once again, man, I mean, we've got it projected at 50% on DK. It probably just wasn't updated on FanDuel when I was talking through it. So I'll flip back out. I'll check and make sure. Quentin Grimes, we've only got him at 10% currently, but maybe that will change some. I definitely like Grimes more on DK where he's 3,400. I'm with Squirrel, love RJ. The whole Knicks lineup really is big time in play. You talked about Hartenstein at 3,700 on DK. These Knicks are probably being forced into tons of optimals as we speak right now. Darius Garland, we've got him at 21% on DK. He's just going to be in play as long as they keep him in this mid to lower 7K range. Like he's someone you just pretty much play every day at this point. You've got Donovan Mitchell even at 8,400. That's a good price on him. Really soft pricing for a 4-game slate. I like Jared Allen as well. All these guys are pretty much tournament plays. Mikal Bridges down to 7,400. A lot lower ownership on the Brooklyn side of this game. So Bridges is someone I'm interested in for sure. playing pretty good minutes. I don't hate Nick Claxton as well at 6,800. Same situation with the Pelicans, except we're going to get more ownership on JV, on DK, where he's 7,100. That's a really good price for him. And then also the similar situation here with the Thunder. So, I don't have to sell you on Kawhi and Westbrook. Like, these guys are going to play. But SGA, 9,600 on DK, getting more ownership. But I still think, 9,600 for him in what should be a competitive matchup for the most part. Really good price for him. Lou Dort, 5,400. Most people are probably going to be flocking to the Knicks. I think at 5,400, you take some shots. Like, he played 38 minutes in his last game. Didn't really put up the fantasy numbers, but that's because he shot 3 for 11. Game before that in Phoenix, he shot 7 for 11, put up 26 fantasy points. Now, 26 fantasy points isn't anything to sneeze home about, but he does have upside for 35-ish. On a 4-game slate, I think getting to some Lou Dort at 5,400 on DK is a good proposition.
Okay. Anything else you want to add here?
Don't drink and drive.
That's a good note. That's a solid note. I a strong believer in that. Strong Uber. I really spend a lot on the Ubers. Big fan of them. Yeah. Let's see. Flying Armbar says, "Hey, was Day'Ron Sharpe a fluke the other day versus the Cavs? Was he a fluke?"
Yeah. Let's go with fluke. I mean, he played 20 minutes. He put up 42 fantasy points. I'm gonna go with like a huge fluke.
Okay. Any interest or no?
No. They blow out too. Like, if this game's tight, he's not playing 19 minutes. He may not play any minutes.
Right.
I mean, our good tournament Mike can give his take, but I'm not playing Day'Ron Sharpe.
Okay.
Maybe in 150 lineups.
Yeah.
In case it wasn't a fluke, but I think it was probably a fluke.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk Kawhi here. I've seen some Kawhi questions. Rad Dad Fanny Pack says, "I'm fading Kawhi. Is that nutty in FanDuel single entry?" And then Bryant says, "Are we worrying about Kawhi possibly getting ruled out late with load management?"
I don't think it's nutty. Like, Kawhi isn't a lot button to me. I mean, Julius Randle could outscore Kawhi tonight. SGA could outscore Kawhi. Brandon Ingram could outscore Kawhi. CJ McCollum could outscore Kawhi. Now, CJ's probably less likely than Brandon Ingram. There's a fair amount of guys on this slate tonight that could outscore Kawhi. If I had to go straight up right now, I'd probably take Randle over Kawhi straight up. So if that's the case, I mean, fading Kawhi, especially if you're in single entry or 3-entry max or something, you're going to be very different. If you come out ahead, you're going to be – it's going to push you to the top, because Kawhi is probably still going to be 35-40% in most of these contests.
Mm-hmm. Squirrel, any thoughts there?
I mean, I think you can definitely make a good lineup without Kawhi, but maybe he's also one of the better options. And in terms of him being like ruled out, you can just – I don't see any reason why that would happen tonight more than any other night. I mean, you should always be paying attention to the news after lock, but I do think we probably would have heard something by now. It's not like he's listed as questionable and we're just presuming he's in. There hasn't been any reason to think that.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Hold on. Let me clear up one thing. I'm not telling you to not play Kawhi. I'm just answering your question. So
sure. Let
me clear that up. Kawhi is a good play, because somebody said I was planning on having Kawhi and Randle a single entry. Like, of course, that's great. Like, do it. But I'm saying, if you're saying, well, I want to play Randle and SGA versus Kawhi, then I think you're fine. Like, that's really what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump into the old RG Discord, get some QQs here. Catching up on everyone making fun of me for blowing their eardrums. Let's see. Here we go. FanDuel GPP, Cole Anthony and Claxton, or Dennis Smith Jr. and Joe Val.
I like the second one.
Yeah. All right. Very good. FanDuel GPP. Mike says, "I would like both guys' takes on this if you don't mind." And I think we can do that. Squirrel, you can lead us off. Can you rank your top Clippers plays outside of Kawhi now that PG is out? That's a good question.
I would say like Westbrook is first, and then probably Nicholas Batum. I'm getting a lot of him of Batum. Let's see, yeah, just the power forward position on FanDuel, and then kind of like Mason Plumlee as well.
Okay, Chief, favorite Clippers?
Yeah, Westbrook. Honestly, I think I'm going Westbrook, Zubac, Gordon, Batum. That's my order. But it's 4 games. If this wasn't a 4-game slate, it wouldn't be Zubac. But I like to pay up to be slightly contrarian. Like, he's not getting enough ownership, in my opinion, on a small slate. So that's why Zubac's coming in second for me.
Okay. All right. More questions. DK Cash and Squirrel. I guess I'll go here. Do you think you should be jamming in Kawhi and Randall in a cash build?
No, I don't think so. I'd go with Randall over Kawhi because Randall's 9,100. He's like 1,200 keeper on DraftKings and on FanDuel. So I'd prioritize Randall. I don't think you need to be jamming in Kawhi.
Okay. Matt says, would you rather stack the Nets Cavs game or take a donut off Roth's counter? Oh, shit. I need to see the recording of that just to know. What's really bad is that I lean this way to yell, and that's where my microphone is too. So I literally just screamed right in the microphone as loud as I could.
It wasn't as bad as you thought. You pretty much either muted yourself or cut yourself off. Pretty instantaneously.
All right. Good.
And but it was still funny. But
I need to go back and
you didn't do you didn't do one of those.
All right. I gotta check that. All right. More QQs. What are your thoughts on Larry Nance and a DK GBP for the same reasons we like Joe Val?
Yeah. Really like that.
All right. Very good. Very good. What are your thoughts on Mitch Rob in cash? Squirrel, I guess you gotta.
He's not. I think it's fine. He's not the ideal cash game player, but you shouldn't necessarily hold that against him. So
way better on DK for what it's worth.
Yeah. Is Westbrook a must in FanDuel cash, or is Giddey okay as a consolation prize?
I think Giddey's okay. You can play both because there's a bunch of position utilities. You can play Giddey at shooting guard, but I would probably prioritize Westbrook over Giddey.
All right, I'm going to scroll up a little bit in the YouTube chat here, see what's happening. Can I take a shot on Eric Gordon or Terrence Mann in a FanDuel GBP? Chief, any Gordon or Mann?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Javon Watts says Nick Richards? Question mark. That's the extent of the entirety.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Rad Dad Fanny Pack says Bridges was absolutely awful versus the Cavs last game out. We don't care, right? We don't care. Nobody cares.
He was terrible. But...
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes you're terrible. Josh Hart. Okay. Any Josh Hart love in a FanDuel GPP?
Yes.
What about Terrence Mann? I feel like, have we brought this name up already?
Yeah, we just answered that. Or in some variety.
Yeah, I thought so. Bryant McDaniel says, you think Covington could get more run than projected? I could see OKC going small and the Clippers having to match. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a good thought.
Okay, very good. Brian in the YouTube chat is telling me that I should remind you people to like this. Otherwise, I will scream in your ears and blow your eardrums again. So make sure we're getting enough likes. Otherwise, I'm going to randomly yell into my microphone yet again. Any Rocco love in a GPP from Malaya?
Yep.
We just talked about that because it's Robert Covington.
There, yeah, it's good. I don't actually. The thing is, I just read it. I don't actually absorb what I'm reading. I'm like Ron Burgundy. I just read, but what I'm saying, it doesn't actually come out. Taylor, any Sharp love? Do they need him to play more minutes against the Cavs Twin Towers?
I don't think so.
Yeah, let me see what his pricing is. Yeah, he's 5,000 on FanDuel. That's a lot. I know he put up 43 points last game. But he's just not playing the minutes typically to justify that.
Gotcha. All right. Roger says, is Jetty Osman viable?
He hasn't really been on my radar, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Aside says, what are your thoughts on fading Westbrook in FanDuel Cash? Would you rather have Scary Terry if he's got the money to do so, Squirrel?
Yeah, I think you can. I think Westbrook's probably one of the better plays of the day, but you said fading him in cash?
Yeah, fading him in FanDuel Cash and playing Scary Terry instead if he's got the money.
That's more of like a tournament lineup.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what else we've got. We've got about 8-9 minutes until lock, so still a decent amount of time here. FanDuel single entry. How many studs are you jamming in? Chief, how many studs you got in your FanDuel single entry build in theory?
In theory, well, I guess Randall's considered a stud tonight. So in theory, just one. But that's because I'm playing these 8K guys in the Charlotte game. My single entry stuff. So that's kind of where I'm ended up. So yeah. Essentially what I'm doing in single entry is fading Kawhi. So I'm going to take Randall and fade Kawhi, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. All right. Mike says FanDuel GPP. I'm playing Kai Jones just for some backup center minutes for Hornets. Am I getting too cute with that?
Maybe. Again, it's like something that's not really on my radar. I mean, he's gone over 23 FanDuel points twice in the last 5 games. So it's I think for tournaments, I think it's fine. Because you just don't know what's going to happen. Like Nick Richards could get into foul trouble.
Mm-hmm. All right. FanDuel tournament question, Chief. I'll give this one to you. Cole Anthony or Eric Gordon?
Cole Anthony, actually. Yeah.
All right. DKGPP. Squirrel right back at you. Nance, Marshall, or Grimes?
I'd probably go Quentin Grimes.
FanDuel cash question. Squirrel, this one's for you. Batum, Giddey, or Boncaro and Grimes?
Boncaro and Grimes.
FanDuel tournament question from Jay Sams. Chief, Royce O'Neal has been stealing some minutes from DFS. Any interest in Royce?
I don't hate it. I mean, he's 5,500, so, he's been hovering in the mid-20s. They're playing Cleveland. My assumption is he doesn't get there, but if you're running 150, get him in.
Okay. Very good. DKGPP Squirrel, can you play Quickly Barrett Randall together? And I'll add if you do, or do you have to run it back?
Yes, you can play them together. And no, you don't have to run it back.
Oh, okay. Very good. FanDuel cash question, Squirrel. Anthony Hayward or Herb Jones and Brandon Ingram?
I think the first one was Hayward, and who was it? Cole Anthony.
Yeah. Carolina guy. Chief, FanDuel single entry. How many Knicks is too many Knicks in a FanDuel single entry?
Probably 4.
Okay.
3 is probably your magic number.
Very nice. Luke Cage, DKGPP, last piece. Chief, Cole Anthony or LeVert?
That's a tough one. Give me Cole Anthony, but LeVert's been playing out of his mind. But I'm going to take Cole Anthony straight up.
All right, but you don't mind LeVert in a tournament?
No, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah. All right. Aside FanDuel cash, this is a 2v2 question for you, Squirrel. PJ Washington and Jay Rich or Hartenstein and Hayward?
It was a cash question?
I believe it was. Yeah, FanDuel cash. PJ Washington and Jay Rich or Hartenstein and Hayward?
I'd do the first one, the Josh Richardson team.
All right. Favorite center on FanDuel in cash and GPPs? I'll let you both answer, Chief. Your favorite center in a FanDuel GPP?
Mine's JV. For GPP cash games, it's probably got to be Nick Richards.
Okay. Squirrel, I think you might agree with the center take there.
Yep, same exact. Richards for cash, Gilbert for tournaments.
Very good. All right. Chief, what you got? Any favorite props? Sometimes when you're just doing DFS, I don't know if you're into the props today. You got any favorite props you want to drop on the people?
I always typically have some props. If you are on Prize Picks, they do have RJ Barrett at 31, a projection of 31 fantasy points. They do use FanDuel scoring. I think RJ's scoring for more than 31 tonight, just my opinion. So I like more than 31, fantasy points, more than their projection there. Herb Jones is at 22.5 fantasy points. That's the Prize Picks projection. I like over on that, and I think that's good enough. Those two I feel really good about.
Okay. What about Marcus Morris? Do you think he takes more shots? That's a good question. Do you think Marcus Morris takes more shots now that Paul George is out?
He could, and he can go for kind of some crazy games every once in a while. So,
yeah, I kind of like it. I'm a fan. Do you have any Gary Harris in GPPs? DK.
I don't, but I don't. I mean, he had a monster game the last game, but it's kind of like the Day'Ron Sharp thing to me. Like, that's a one-off. He's not going to be doing that every game.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see.
He's not like super cheap either. He's like 4,200.
Right. DK GPP, Kai Jones, J-Val, or Batum and Jalen Williams?
Man, Prize Picks just bumped RJ. My God. Dang it. Sorry.
Too slow on the uptake.
Well, I already got him in, but just,
For the others, for everybody else, yeah. DK GPP, Kai Jones, and J-Val. I feel like that's your answer. Or Batum and Jalen Williams.
Yep. Kai and J-Val, but I don't really like Kai, but I like J-Val way more than Williams.
Okay. Bryant McDaniel says, Lightning won't strike twice in the same spot for Gary Harris. And that you gentlemen agree.
I agree.
Yeah. Did you know Lightning actually strikes the same spot all the freaking time? It's a real misconception because it just strikes the highest thing. So if something's really high, it gets struck all the time. So the whole Lightning never strikes twice thing, it always strikes twice. That's ridiculous. Let's see. We've caught up on all the questions. We have about 2 minutes until lock. If you'd like to ask any questions that do not involve me screaming at my dog or blowing out your eardrums, please, by all means, do so. Also, don't forget to smash that like button for us. Free content by two of the sharpest minds in the biz coming at you. Shout out to our sponsor, Fanduel. They just want the thumbs up. That's it. They want the eyeballs. So give us a thumbs up. Hopefully we can keep the show free for a very, 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 very long time. I'm going to scroll up a wee bit and see if there are any questions that I missed here. 100 likes and I will never blow out your eardrums again. That's right. That's all I ask. FanDuel cash question from Darren. Morris and Randall or Ingram and Franz? I feel like we haven't talked much about Franz, did we?
No, not a whole lot to talk about Franz.
No.
That's kind of more of a tournament team.
Yeah.
I probably would not go with Randall. Like 10-3 is really expensive.
Oh, okay.
The other
so
one.
Ingram Wagner is your answer.
Yeah, I'd go Ingram Wagner.
But I feel like your real answer is if that's a cash build, rebuild things.
Yeah, just enter it in a tournament. I think it's fine.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. Anthony with a quick QQ coming in here. Chief is for you. Joval Mitrob or Nick Richards and Jared Allen?
Joval Mitrob.
Very good. Any love for Fultz in a FanDuel GPP, gents?
Let's see.
I'm gonna let Squirrel take that one.
Yeah. I think you can go with Fultz. He's facing the Knicks, so he's a good run back for all those Knicks pieces you're sure to have. So.
Okay, very good. DK Cash question here. Squirrel, Grimes, Nance, Randall, or Anthony Hayward, Mitrob?
Sorry, what are the 3 versus 3?
Yeah, it was Grimes, Nance, Randall, or Anthony Hayward, Mitrob.
The first one, the Julius Randle one, because he's only 9,100 on DraftKings.
Okay, and then we have a good discussion here for post-lock. The question is, Jay Sam says, Squirrel and Chief, this year on FanDuel, pricing has been more efficient when there hasn't been any clear value. Like yesterday, balance builds seem to rule. Have you adjusted at all for the new pricing over on FanDuel? Have you found yourself getting less stars on FanDuel and maybe going more balanced?
It really depends on the night, but yeah, that's actually a very interesting note that the pricing has been much different this year, particularly the last few months. I feel like where something clearly adjusted on the FanDuel side, because DraftKings used to have much tighter pricing, and now it's actually flipped into its FanDuel, and if FanDuel seems to be anticipating injuries if somebody's listed as questionable the night before or the day before. They're actually pricing up the backups, so you're not getting this automatic value. That's if you use lineup HQ, that's going to be that optimizer is going to actually take that into account for you and kind of figure that stuff out for you. Gotcha. So I don't necessarily change anything in my thinking. It's just a fact that you're going to be getting different lineups.
Okay, very good. And then one last question here for DraftKings. Who do you think has the better game tonight, straight up, Franz Wagner or Jalen Williams? Chief?
Give me Jalen Williams.
Okay, very good. And with that, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to go see how much food my dog ate off the counters, and watch some college hoops. Right? What game are we most excited about watching?
I think the late game is the big one tonight, which I'm headed out with the fiance here shortly to go work on some music, and then when I get back home, I think it's the late game for me.
Very nice. Squirrel, you watching any of these games tonight?
Yeah, actually, I have UConn going kind of far in my bracket, so I'll be watching that game. Kind of a long shot, but if it hits for me, then it's going to pay out well. So.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, well, good luck. We will be watching. Everybody, hope you enjoy it. Good luck in your tournaments here for Squirrel, for Chief, for our wonderful production crew. Always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.